Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. So welcome to our webinar today on progression by design, how Cambridge English Qualifications help learning. Okay. So my name is Colin Williams. I'm an assessment manager, and this is my colleague, Sian Morgan.
Hello. I'm Sian, and I work in research and thought leadership.
Okay. So we're just going to turn our cameras off now. Just 1 second, and then we'll get on with this presentation. Okay.
Okay, shall we start then? Let's first define what we mean by a virtuous learning circle.
Okay, so this graphic shows what we mean by a virtuous learning circle. Let's start at the top. So the first thing any learner needs to establish is his or her learning objectives. Questions learners and teachers should ask themselves are, what do I want to achieve in the short term and in the long term? Okay. So if we have a look at an example learning objective here. Okay, so the CEFR is a good starting point for learning objectives because it provides clear can-do statements. For example, for learners at C1 level, it may be appropriate to have as an overall learning objective can easily follow and contribute to complex interactions between third parties in group discussion, even on abstract, complex, unfamiliar topics. Okay.
Next, the learners will perform in some way. If we stick with the previous learning objective, the teacher may ask students to have a discussion in pairs or threes about a complex topic. A suitable task may then be for them to have a discussion and make a decision or come to some sort of conclusion.
Okay. For example, because the C1 descriptor includes unfamiliar topics, we can introduce a degree of unexpectedness and unfamiliarity. For example, a teacher might ask students to draw a topic out of a hat and require the students to share their opinions on this subject for an agreed period of time. Okay, so what we'd like to do, let's have a look at the next slide, actually, Sian, the observation.
Yes. While the learners perform the task, the teacher will need to observe what's happening. Can the learners complete the task? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Successful observation will include close monitoring and note-taking by the teacher. For example, if we think of the C1 discussion task and its complex interaction, the teacher may notice that the learners are overusing, in my opinion, as an opinion marker, and decide to introduce different phrases for expressing opinion.
Okay, so what we'd like to do here then is to do this pick a topic out of a hat, spontaneous idea. So could you type into the chat box, please, a subject for Sian and I to talk about for 60 seconds, please? Any subject. Please type it into the chat box. Space. Wow. Okay. All right. Space is the first one. Okay. Holidays, fashion, free time. Which would you like, Sian?
Should we do holidays?
Should we do holidays?
Because we haven't had any for a long time.
Okay, yeah, okay, holiday it is. Okay, so Sian, when we finish with this pandemic, where would you like to go on holiday?
Well, I've got a trip booked to Norway, which has had to be postponed. So I'm hoping to get out to Norway sometime in 2021. What about you?
I'm hoping to go to Italy, actually, because I really like the climate there and I like the people, I like the language. So yeah, I'd like to.
Have you been to Italy before?
I have, yes, but this time I'd like to go to Sicily because I haven't been to Sicily. So.
Yes.
Have you been?
Yes, I have, and you must try their what are they called? Arancini, which are balls of rice with ragu.
Okay, I will do that. Okay, fantastic. And when you go on holiday, what do you prefer to do? Do you like cultural holidays?
I prefer city holidays. I like city breaks or walking by the sea. Those are my two favourite types of holidays. So I quite like a weekend, perhaps in a European city with some sightseeing or cultural visits and a couple of nice meals.
Okay, fantastic. Right, that's definitely a minute. Okay, so when the students have finished their task and the teacher has concluded their observation, then both learners and teachers can work on the interpretation or the feedback stage. So for example, if you were giving feedback from our rather unstructured holiday conversation, there you might say, well, where was the beginning and where was the end? But feedback may take many forms. The learners may be given time to self-reflect on their performance. And it might be suitable to let students at times record themselves and complete a full observation stage first. And then they can identify what went well and what they want to improve. Sian, did you ever record your students, or did they ever record themselves?
I asked them to record themselves and then to assess themselves and try one and then do it again better the second time. And they came in and told me what things they'd improved and let me listen to the recordings. It was a really successful activity.
I think it's really useful because then you can, students often don't realise the mistakes that they're making on what they need to improve. And so it's good for them to sort of step back a little bit and then look at themselves.
And of course they could do the same thing with their peers and have some peer review. And don't forget that kind of thing takes the heat off the teacher who doesn't have to do all the assessment. Definitely.
If the classmates are doing the assessing and they're friendly with each other, then it's good. Yeah. Okay. So, for example, the teacher can interpret what they observed immediately. For example, it may have become clear that the students only use the same phrase for making suggestions, why don't we? Okay, so the teacher could then perhaps suggest some different possibilities for shall we, what about, how about, etc. Or there might have been issues with pronunciation. And then depending on the type of issue, then the teacher can decide what to do next.
And this is how we get to adjusting the teaching cycle. At this point, the teacher should either plan future lessons with their observation and interpretation in mind, or perhaps deal with some issues straight away. Going back to our example, the teacher may decide to extend the learner's repertoire when it comes to making suggestions, so that they have more options than simply saying, why don't we? She might even ask her class to look out for opinion markers in TV series that they watch and bring them into the lesson to share. A bit like being language detectives. The adjustment of the teaching cycle will directly inform which new learning objectives should be set.
So this is what happens in many classrooms around the world. Whoops. Okay, yeah, so this is what happens in many classrooms around the world, but how do exams fit in? Okay, so here we go, Sian.
Let's look at this example from our C1 advanced speaking test. In this exam, 2 or 3 students have to look at the mind map with different life decisions and discuss the question in the centre. What might people have to consider when making these decisions? First, they discuss this question for each of the life decisions, and then they are asked together to decide together which of the situations is the most important to make the right decision. Okay,
so let's model this task then, Sian.
I know you like modelling.
Yes, okay, well, obviously with my model's good looks. Okay, so what might people have to consider when making these decisions? So what about finding a job, Sian?
Well, finding a job, you have to first of all decide what you want to do and then be very systematic in looking to see what opportunities are on the market.
And also when they're considering decisions about the job, then presumably then they're looking at salary,
yes,
okay, career prospects as well.
Whether they match the job specifications.
Yeah, okay, those things. And also, if it's a job that they really want to do, a lot of people start a job and then realise that it's not really for them. So.
And can I just say, it's really important sometimes to say, no, this isn't for me. That can be a very positive decision. I did it myself once.
Okay.
When I was very young. Yes.
Yeah.
What about choosing a university, Colin?
Well, for me, it's the course is the most important thing, because this is going to dictate your future, your whole future, your career. And so doing something that's practical, but also something that you enjoy, I think.
Would you research the lecturers on the course, or would you how would you get your information about the
I'd look at the prospectuses for from the university. I'm unlikely to know many of the lecturers personally, but I think...
But sometimes they have their names on sites and their applications, don't they?
They do. And also choosing a university, it's interesting to... Well, you're going to be living in the place where the university is. So do you want to live at home, or do you want to move away from home, and what kind of city is it going to be? So that's another.
Personally, I wanted to move away from home, so I went quite far away.
Yeah, me too, actually. It was good for independence.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And what about moving to another country? What do you think about that?
Well, we've both done that, haven't we? So, I think it's a really exciting thing, but you'd have to think about things like how easy it is to find work there if you intend to work there. Maybe the language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do some classes in French if you're going to France and you don't speak it, or
yeah, that kind of thing, and also whether the culture, whether you can adapt to the culture easily
That's
when
right.
you go there.
Yeah.
I think it's
and sometimes it's the little things rather than the big things that bother you. For example, I don't think I could ever live in Spain because I know that they eat very late in the evening
okay.
and go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning. I know that would wear me out.
Okay, I'd quite like that kind of lifestyle, I think. But yes, okay, great. Okay, so these are here. We've just discussed 3 of the 5, and it's within the 2 minutes. I'm not sure that was 2 minutes. Perhaps it was a little bit longer. But for example, this is just a
sort of example, a serving suggestion.
That's right. Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on.
Oh, it's me now. Here's a reminder of the learning objective our teacher had set for her class. It comes from the C1 speaking descriptors of the CEFR. I'll give you a moment to read it. Please type the key words of the speaking descriptors into the chat box.
Okay, so what are the key words? Can you write them into the chat box, please? We've got good evenings, hellos, abstract, okay, interactions.
Good.
Anything else? Any other keywords? Unfamiliar topics, yes. Easily follow, good. Complex, unfamiliar. Okay, I think basically we've got a good spread.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops, I've gone. Yes, so here we are. So easily follow, contribute, complex interactions, abstract, complex, unfamiliar topics.
And Brilliant. It's quite good actually if when you're preparing your students to let them be aware of the keywords as well, because they like to have that kind of information.
Yeah. Okay.
Now here's the task again with the can-do statement. We've highlighted the keywords for you. How do you think that the speaking descriptors relate to the task the students have to do? Please type your comments in the box.
Okay. So interaction and topics to discuss. Yeah. Decisions. Yeah. So making these decisions, then it's
perhaps agreeing on a decision together.
Yeah. Expressions, taking a position. Good.
Unfamiliar topics, because some of these may be quite abstract to your students.
Yeah. Yes, and that's the point. When you've got students, even at C1 level, often they're teenagers, and so perhaps they haven't done any of these things. So these might be very abstract for them.
But that contributes to the unexpectedness and being able to deal with unexpected topics, perhaps.
Yeah, and also the person that they're doing the speaking test with, the other candidate, might be someone that they've never met before.
Yeah, and have a completely different world experience, and that could lead to a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, and then these are complex interactions between third parties, and
yes,
so it's
typical of everyday life, really.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Turn taking, yeah. Okay, so lots of fluency, pronunciation, all of these things contribute really to the complex interaction between the candidates. Okay, so
this is you, Colin?
Yeah, so here's another speaking task, but this one's from our A2 Key exam. So this exam task was recently revised due to teacher feedback. The old information gap task has now been replaced by a picture prompt, which elicits a simple social exchange on habits and preferences. So there's a simple but collaborative discussion, really, providing greater opportunities for candidates to demonstrate their speaking ability. Okay. So what type of learning objective do you think is addressed here? Again, could you put some suggestions into the chat box, please? What's the learning objective here, you think? Hobbies. Okay, so hobbies is the theme. Yeah, expressing likes, exchanging opinions. Okay. Anything else? Vocabulary, talking about daily routines, present progressive. Yes, there will be, because there's what's happening in the pictures. Yeah, turn taking, being creative, free time activities. Yes. So these are more concrete subjects that people at A2 Key level can talk about.
Yes.
Okay. So Sian, should we model this task as well?
Okay.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay. Do you like playing computer games, Sian?
Oh, right. Okay. I get asked this all the time. And I've just started actually playing some games, which are computer games, on my iPad. So
Okay.
I'm a bit of a beginner,
Right.
but I'm quite enjoying them.
Okay. What kind of games are you playing?
I'm word games, actually.
Okay. Okay.
What
Great.
about you?
Yeah, I play word games too. I play Scrabble.
Oh, right.
Like
I
that,
do too,
on the computer.
What's your average score?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds. Okay. Do you like music?
Oh, I love music. Yes, it's a really important part of my life.
And do you play any musical?
I don't play any instruments, but I do love going particularly to live music events, which of course I've missed this year because of the pandemic, as many other people have.
Okay. Okay.
What about you? What do you like doing? I can't see that picture, Colin, because you've got it so far away from me. Okay. What about what are the couple doing sitting on the sofa?
I think they're reading books.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, I enjoy reading. I read quite a lot, especially novels. I think, but biographies too.
Okay. Do you like detective novels?
I do like that. I like it. I read anything, to be honest.
Well, if you haven't read it before, you should read James Lee Burke, because he's a wonderful and American crime author.
Okay. Okay. I will do. Okay. Do you like playing football, Sean?
Not at all. No. But my little grandson has now started to do junior rugby.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see how he gets on with
Okay.
that.
Will he tackle his grandma, do you think?
I think he probably will. He's my Welsh case.
Okay. And do you like art? Do you like painting?
It's funny you should say that, but I look at a painting every week with one of my colleagues, and we discuss it together.
Okay.
What about you? Are you an art fan?
It's okay. I mean, I don't really like going to galleries. I get a bit bored, to be honest. But I like drawing, but I'm just not very good.
Okay. Well, I think the important thing is to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. Okay, great. Okay, so here, this is basically an example of what we've done. So, Sian, can you tell us about
good test design?
Yes.
Okay. So that task that we just did has a clear focus, and which is designed, actually, Colin and I are slightly above that level, but it's designed for lower level learners, low intermediate learners. But even though they haven't got an awful lot of language ability yet, or lots and lots of fluency, it has a clear focus on developing fluency and, very importantly, interaction. And it's an authentic exchange, and in terms of format, is quite clearly aligned to the A2 exam and CEFR descriptors. In fact, in terms of authenticity, I think I said to you the other day, I was once at a bus stop in Cambridge, and I saw, it was during summer when we had a lot of foreign students, and I saw a young boy and girl at the bus stop just chatting away very tentatively with a very low level English, but asking each other questions. It's a real example of how this kind of language can be used to get to know somebody. So any student progressing through the levels will become familiar with this type of speaking task. At this much lower level, it's more concrete, based on familiar topics, and with lots of scaffolding provided in the instructions. First, they simply discuss whether they like the hobbies or not, and why they like or dislike them. And then they will be prompted to develop their utterances. For example, do you think painting is easy? Why? Why not? So there's a lot of scaffolding, but also a focus on genuine interaction and genuine communication. For example, responding to opinions about everyday topics, listening to their partner, and the listening is important too, and turn taking.
Yeah. Okay. And again, this is the example of authenticity. It's genuine interaction. Yes. Okay.
And that makes it more relevant for the students, I think, and is more motivating.
That's right. Okay. Here's an example of a listening task from one of our tests. Okay. What level do you think this is? Could you put it into the chat box, please? Starters, A1, beginners. Yeah, okay, right. You're on the right line. It is starters. Let's do this task. Okay.
I think you're going to be Anna this time.
I'm going to be Anna. Okay, fantastic. Yes, okay. Go for it.
So, which dog is Anna's? Is that your dog, Anna?
No, my dog's dirty.
Is it young?
Yes, my brother's dog is that old one.
Okay.
What's the answer, please, ladies and gentlemen? We've got lots of B's. Someone put A, but it's definitely B. It's the dirty dog in the middle. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so this is as you can see, it's pre-A1.
Which dog Miss Anna's.
Yeah. Okay, so it's pre-A1, so it's aimed at beginners, and it's been specifically designed for children. So the previous example of this kind of test was in black and white images, but we know that for young learners, colourful images are more appealing, and they're easier to process as well. So all of our young learner tests have colour images now. And if a teacher uses these materials in the classroom, we're confident that they're accessible for children and that they enjoy working with them. So as we've discussed before, we design our tests carefully so that preparing for them has a positive impact on the learners, and little things like colour pictures actually make a big difference. Okay.
Okay. Here's an example of a B1 reading test. It should just come up. Okay. Yep. This is a general English test aimed at anyone over the age of 16. This type of notice comes from the general English domain. You don't need specialist knowledge to understand it. Have a look at the example and type in what type of language knowledge is being tested here. Okay, so could you type in what type of modal verbs? Yeah. Daily language, reading comprehension. Yes, so that's the general scope of it. So, yeah. Any specific language? What about the language? Accuracy, requests. Okay, is there some requests here? Maybe. Collocations, yeah. Advertisements, daily language, comprehension. Yeah. Okay. Days of the week. You've got them all there. Yes, we've highlighted that it tests things like modals of necessity, using must and can, determiners, every and some, and, as one of you said, lexical knowledge. In, for example, we've got the phrase, a collocation, experience essential. So this language is all part of a context. In this case, a short notice advertising a job. All of our exams test language in a context, as that's how language is encountered in real life. Yeah, so for example, you will find in daily life advertisements like this and this kind of functional task. It's very useful. I mean, actually, if you're ever in an English-speaking environment, look around you, or even, yes, in perhaps not a non-English-speaking environment where they use English as a lingua franca, and, you know, take notice of the language that you see around you, because it's all a sort of exposure to how it's used in different situations. Yeah, okay, great. All right, so now let's have a look at this writing task from one of our business English exams. This is from Beck Vantage. Okay, what skills or functions, not language, but what skills or functions are being tested here? Again, could you type your answers into the chat box, please? Writing. Yes, but what are the functions? Okay, so it is writing. So apologizing, making excuses, yeah. Some grammar, yeah. Formal writing, yes. Okay. Accuracy, purpose writing, yeah. All of the writing, formal, yeah. It's got to be formal. Okay. So, as many of you said, this is a writing task. The skills that are tested are structuring an email, using appropriate language for writing in a semi-formal situation, because it's the regional sales manager for an international company, so it's business context. Okay. Also, what else is there? Apologizing, which is sort of sensitive, and you have to do that politely. Yeah, and again, it's something that people need to apologize a lot of the time. Yes. And don't forget that British people love to apologize, so we're good models for you to learn different phrases. Yeah, we apologize all the time. Okay, explaining, giving information, yes. So, if you wanted your students to improve on one of or several of these skills, like apologizing or explaining, okay, but not in a business context, can you think of a different context you could use in order to help your students develop skills of needed to apologize? Can you write that into the chat box? To a friend? Yeah. Apologize for being late to class. Okay, this is something that students have a lot of the time. Very useful. Yeah. Okay. Telephone conversation. Okay. To a manager. Okay. Teenager apologizing to their mum. Yeah, I'm sure that happens. Okay. Apologizing to their friend for missing a birthday or not attending a party. I mean, I think if we just think of our own our last 10 days, we can think of examples when we've had to apologize for something. Yeah,
Yeah, for not doing the washing up,
Yes.
for example. Yes. Okay. And if it's a more formal setting, then again, you can raise or you can lower the formality of the situation. So, for example, you might have a formal setting like in a university context, maybe apologizing to a lecturer to explain why you can't come to a lecture, something like that. Okay. Okay. So, the previous examples should have made clear how Cambridge English exams can help learners and teachers to progress through the levels and sideways in different contexts. So going from young learners to the standard papers, okay, or going from business to general English papers. Okay, just as the CEFR build on each level, so do our exams, as you can see by this diagram here where you've got step by step. Okay. A learner who successfully completed A2 Key or A2 Flyers will then have the skills to start preparing for B1 Preliminary or B1 Preliminary for schools. And then the task types will be familiar and they'll have a good foundation in all of the skills in place on which to build, because it's consolidation. Each level builds upon the next level.
And they are designed, aren't they, to make that sort of, there's a sort of a roof tiling approach, a bit of overlap at the top of one level and the beginning of the next. So it's some students, in my experience, want to miss a level and go up to the next but one. But I think it's really important just to take it gradually, because that's how you build on what you've learned before and get ready for the next stage of learning.
I think so. And I think if you do miss levels, then you're in danger of missing out critical language and critical functions and a lot of vocabulary as well. So,
that's right, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So this chart makes the progression as well as the different contexts clear. So we offer exams specifically aimed at learners who are still at school, who are in higher education or need general English, and also those who need English for work. So each exam is closely aligned to one level of the CEFR, as you can see in the left-hand column. But they're also aligned to the levels above and below in terms of how they're structured, as we've just said. We've seen this in the examples before with the A2 and C1 speaking tests, which have a similar format but are graded in difficulty in terms of what the candidates have to do with the language. So A2 is in the very familiar domain, simple interaction. By the time they get to C1, they're in a more abstract domain, and
more complex.
Yes, it's much more complex, the things that they have to do. For example, and I'm giving you an example now, at A2 level in the paired speaking task, candidates can exchange information about topics of immediate personal nature. Whereas at C1, they're able to take part in a complex discussion, possibly on abstract topics. So it's almost like a work or a higher education level.
Yeah, okay.
Now here you can see an example of our certificates. However, they're more than just a number or a grade. Our certificates point backwards in a way in time because they give you a reliable statement about what language level a person has achieved until now. But they also implicitly point forward to the next stage of learning and to the next level that can be achieved and all the associated learning goals with that.
So, for example, for our young learners exams, here we've got a certificate on the right, a mover certificate. There's no pass or fail. All the children receive an award which shows how many shields they've received. So the maximum score is 5 shields for each part of the test. So listening, reading and writing and speaking. Okay. And these tests celebrate children's achievements. And so they build their confidence and reward their individual ability. Okay, and we give feedback as well for parents and teachers. So a result of 1 shield means a child can improve a lot in that skill, whereas 5 shields means that the child did very well in that skill and answered most questions correctly. So on this statement of results here, then the candidate did really well on reading and writing, pretty well on speaking, and the listening was so-so, basically.
And that makes it very motivational at a young age, when success sort of breeds success, really.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Okay.
And all of our exams and our certificates also come with a statement of results. So candidates receive a score for each skill: reading, writing, listening and speaking, plus use of English in certain exams. They also get an overall score for the exam on the Cambridge English scale. And the alignment of our exams to the CEFR is clear. And results on the scale also give a greater insight into candidate progression from one exam to the next.
Yeah, so if we have a look at this example here, so this is from a key exam, and the Cambridge English scale is on the left there, and so 150 points on the Cambridge English scale would be an A, so between 140 and 150 would be an A, and between 133 and 140 would be a B, and that's the range in which this candidate finds him or herself. Okay, so they basically got a borderline B in speaking, an A in writing, and B's in listening and in reading. So you can see very incrementally, really, at a granular level, how your students are doing with this kind of information. And
that allows them to perhaps set learning goals. If they, and as a teacher, it may also help teachers to see how if their teaching has been sort of calibrated over the 4 skills. I used to teach university students at C1 and C2 level, and when we got the statement of results, I was always checking to see if they'd done okay in all the skills. And I remember one year they all did a little bit worse in writing, and I thought I must up my game for the next class.
Yeah,
and concentrate a little bit more on helping them with their writing.
Yes, and I think it's good. It's good for on a class level, but also on an individual level for the learning goals. But as you said, if everybody is doing well at one skill or not so well on one skill, then it's good for the teacher as well.
Yeah, and of course we have to remember that we all have a different profile, and some people are better at writing than speaking. There's also that to consider too.
Okay.
So.
We've talked, I think it's this slide, impact by design, that's right. Yes. So we've talked about how good teaching and good assessment can go hand in hand together to form a virtuous circle for progression. So our tests are designed to have a positive impact on learning and to elicit real life skills which are relevant to real life situations beyond the test. So this is important. It's based on real life. It's got to be something that's usable and is something that will have a real impact on people's lives. So our tests point backwards in that they give a reliable measure of the learner's progress so far, which they certify according to an internationally recognized framework, and that's using the CEFR, basically.
And that's important because they can be compared over different contexts.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to move country and you've got an exam, a CFR result, the people in the other country know what that means.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if you've done any. I've done a DELF test in French test, and that was and so you get a CFR grade for that as well. And so this is you can easily compare where you are in different languages as well, which is useful.
Okay. So our tests not only give you information on where the learners are now on the language learning continuum, they also point forward to next stage of learning and what your students' next learning goals could be. And in this way, they help the teachers to set realistic and relevant learning goals for the class. And they also motivate learners individually by enabling them to develop real-life language skills. And we call this positive impact by design.
Okay, so that's come to the end of our presentation. So thank you for attending today's webinar.
Thank you.
We hope it was useful for you. But now, does anyone have any questions regarding progression by design and our Cambridge English tests? Let's have a look at this Q&A box, Sian, and see if we've got anything in here. Okay, why do you say to go to another country if someone couldn't go to another country? I'm not sure about that one. But that's also something on a speaking test. I mean, you can if you're discussing about moving to another country, then that's certainly something you can talk about if it's not within your possibilities.
It's not as if the tasks are interesting, but what their function is to elicit language from the students so that the examiners can evaluate their performance. So it's not as if there's a right answer. If you say, I just can't see myself being able to move to another country for the moment, that's fine. And then you can give the reasons why. So it's not as if they have to follow it slavishly.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so could Cambridge give me some information about marking for A2, B1 and B2? Well, yes, there's a lot of information for this on our website, actually. There's sample papers from each of the exams that we offer. And also in the handbooks, which are also free and which you can download from our website too. and they've got the grading criteria. So if you want to do judgments of writing, for example, it shows what the different assessment scales are. So perhaps it's a good idea for teachers to look at the assessment scales too, because then the assessment scales here really are very useful in the sense that you can understand as teachers how our exams are marked.
And also, if you go onto the website, you'll see sample performances with commentaries, and they can be very useful for you to get a glimpse of what examiners are looking for. So it's not just counting the grammar mistakes, but seeing how well students can organise a piece of writing, perhaps, or a piece of discourse when they're speaking. So that will give you, and it can be very helpful for your students if you share some examples of good writing or good speaking, to make them aware of what they're aiming for, just above their present level.
Yeah, okay. People are asking about whether tests can be taken completely online. They can be. We have computer-based tests. So yes, you can take. If you have a language centre in which offers the software, and it's been registered with Cambridge, then yes, you can. You can do computer-based tests, and so therefore you don't need to all crowd into one language centre. And obviously in this day and age
there'll be more developments in that direction as after the events of 2020.
Okay. Where can we get the complete information about the levels of the CEFR? It's very easy, actually. If you put CEFR into Google,
yes,
there's a whole document from the Council of Europe who basically set up the CEFR along with many educational institutes, including Cambridge Assessment, actually.
Yeah. And when you see it, don't panic, because it's about 1,000 words long. Nobody ever read the CFR from the beginning to the end.
No.
What you need to do is sort of think about your context, what level your students are, what skills you're interested in, and go in and look at the descriptors for those skills and those levels. And what's really exciting, I think, about the CFR is that it's been revised in the last couple of years, perhaps 2 or 3 years ago, and now we've got additional descriptors for mediation tasks, in computer, what do we call it? Digital communication.
Digital communication,
sorry.
yeah.
I had a senior moment there. So, you could use those to help you design tasks for your students. And then rate them according to the descriptors. Yeah. So, it's done the work for you. It was designed originally for teachers, the CFR, although a lot of test takers use it. But the original, I think, intention was for teachers to help teachers. So do use it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Is the test easy to translate in any other language? I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, that's.
Do you mean the actual functions of the test?
Then yes, I think.
Yes, I think you could certainly transform it into, if you have a task like we looked at the A2 speaking task, that can certainly be converted into your own language. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when we say complete online, obviously the speaking test isn't online. That is the only.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the only component that isn't yet. We are looking into the possibilities of that in the future, but it's.
I mean, they are looking at it, but I think we've got to make sure that security is tight first.
But that is the main issue. I think it's just making sure that everything is as it should be in the test. So yes, so the speaking tests aren't online. That's right. Okay. So I think we've come to the end. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending. I hope to see you again soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for giving up your time today.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Don't forget to practice the tasks yourselves.
Exactly, do some practice.
Model it for your students.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, bye-bye.